Majestic slopes and peaks, the Alps and the Pyrenees, are also a part of France. Wherever one travels through France, man, and everywhere there is the sense of age, for the general patterns of the fields and villages were established long before Columbus sailed the Atlantic. For the Frenchman, his pride of history is an important factor in his way of life. Every day, the French people live with the reminders of a great and glorious past. 20,000 years ago, prehistoric artists left their drawings in caves in southwestern France. Near the Mediterranean, ruins of an ancient aqueduct recall the influence of the Roman civilization. The ramparts of Carcassonne remind us of the power of feudal lords. And Mont Saint-Michel symbolizes the great cultural glories of French history. The Arch of Triumph honors the great empire under Napoleon, a memorial to those who once made France the strongest power in all Europe. The French people live in the shadow of these great achievements, which they can perhaps hope to equal, but may never surpass. The weight of the established a French thing that has changed little for over a century. The most representative Frenchman was the peasant. He is still part of the French landscape and typifies many of the traits that are part of the French way. The peasant clings to the land. His methods are simple. To the peasant, his small plot of land is France, and here he will live out his life. The peasant is industrious and thrifty, repairing what he has, a make-do way of life, rather than replacing with new. Life is hard for most peasant families. They do not have the conveniences of the modern world, but live a way of life that has changed little in several centuries. Although he is aware of the modern 20th century, the peasant clings to the simple patterns of life that were established long ago. Family is the basic unit of French life, and here the peasant appears to be content. Perhaps he will be forced into a modern world, but to the Frenchman, change and novelty are not necessarily desirable. The Brittany coast of northwestern France, the people have always been fishermen. Generation after generation, they have harvested the rich bounty. Like the peasant farmer, the fisherman too follows a way of life that was established long ago. The boy becomes a fisherman because his father and his father before him were fishermen. Most of their homes are more than a century old. Although women still love their distinctive folk dress, it is now disappearing from everyday life. Modern conveniences are not a part of this simple pattern, because the peasant cannot afford the luxuries of a modern world. Folk festivals play an important part in maintaining the traditions and simple pleasures that have always been a part of this French way of life. In the cities of France, history also strongly influences the way of life. Urban France has always been a land of small shopkeepers, each merchant specializing in one product or one service. The busy food market typifies the many small independent divisions into which the French economy has traditionally been divided. The outdoor market is especially popular with the Frenchman. But to be a small shopkeeper, usually means a low income. As with the peasant and fisherman, the small merchant is slow to adjust to the modern world. His home is often of another century, and the installation of modern utilities is difficult and costly. The small shop and the home are frequently combined. This silk shop sells quality goods produced by family craftsmen. Typically French, the small family business provides for its individual members and resists the modern technical world of big industry. Enterprise and expansion of business have never been a part of the small craftsman's purpose in life. The Frenchman says he does not live to work. He only works to live. Idle relaxation is his favorite pastime. The Frenchman has a strong feeling of equality and individual worth, and instantly rebels whenever he suspects official interference in the sanctity of his personal life. Since World War II, France has developed a new strength and a new spirit. Modern buildings of steel and glass are rising above historical skylines. The new generation is creating a new way of thinking in a competitive modern world. The automobile has become an important factor in the changing pattern. Youth is no longer tied to the family and the village, but moves freely to jobs in a rapidly growing industrial economy. As people move to urban areas, row upon row of new housing and shops meet their needs, and more families enjoy the comforts of modern living. Modern shopkeepers offer a wide selection of products, making shopping much easier for the French housewife. As life becomes easier, the French are beginning to enjoy more leisure time, and the family vacation is becoming an accepted part of life. By train or car, people flock to the resorts and beaches of the Riviera that were once reserved for only the very wealthy. A centralized school system continues to develop the sense of national heritage shared by all Frenchmen, but at the same time builds new ideas and standards for a modern France. In peasant farm areas, the traditional pattern of small land holdings is slowly giving way to larger, more productive farms that can utilize modern machines to produce for a growing population. A rich bounty of natural resources benefits all France, and scientists are continually searching for new ways to use available resources. This experimental solar oven utilizes the sun's energy. By concentrating the sun's rays at a focal point, this oven provides heat. By Jean Monnet, the Commonwealth has increased the exchange of farm and industrial products, bringing new prosperity in all of Western Europe. Present-day France is a nation of conflicting ideals, as the old, the pleasant and accepted ways of slowly retreat before the new ways of the modern world. But the new will always stand side by side with remnants of the past. History is too strong, and France will always retain its own individualistic character. As Frenchmen parade to honor their proud heritage, a new generation realizes that France will not rule again by force of arms, but as part of a growing European community, France can play an important role in the modern world.